Good evening, this is Entropy,
And this is Lucifera.
here for our next installment on the book of Revelation. Since we didn't finish it the first time, we are going to attempt to finish what we have to say about the book tonight. As they say, in for a penny, in for a pound, so here we go. Let's just go straight to it. We're going to try to just go chapter by chapter and give more or less our interpretation of these things. As we previously stated, these are only our interpretations, and anyone who wants to offer their own interpretations of this book, I'm more than willing to hear you out.
And if you comment, please make it related to the video and not get off topic.
It's a book of Revelation is what this is about. If you want to comment on our other videos about something else, that's fine, or even on our discussion. But unless it's about the book of Revelation, Anyway, we welcome any comments that you might have about the video. To start with, I'm going to go all the way to chapter 4 of Revelation, the first 3 chapters being mostly letters that were supposed to be written to the different churches that John was writing to. I'd like to first very, very briefly discuss this whole idea of a rapture. Of course, there's nowhere in the entire Bible that says anything about a rapture. And the idea, Christians, I mean honestly, the ego that you Christians have is just unbelievable, that you think that you people are good enough to escape any hell that this world that might happen to this world. Not only, Christians, are you not going to escape it, you're responsible for it. You and the Muslims and the Jews, primarily. The other religions on this planet may be pretty bad, but not as bad as the Abrahamic ones. And it's the Abrahamic religions that are causing this. So the hell that's coming is for you. So therefore, you're going to be here. But let's start in the book of Revelation chapter 4 and look at one of the passages of the Bible that Christians use to justify the pre-trib rapture.
This is Revelation chapter 4, 1 and 2. After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will shew thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne.
Now, believe it or not, this verse, which simply talks about John's revelation, his dream, Christians interpret as being their rapture. You know what really boggles my mind? It really, really does, is how Christians in this country, I don't know about other countries, maybe other countries, I don't think any Western countries persecute the Christians, but the idea that the United States of America persecutes the Christians, you people actually think you're persecuted? Listen, when the Kabbalists or the Gnostics or the pagans have movies coming out with Nicolas Cage in it as the major star, as this ridiculous, what's it called?
Left Behind.
Left Behind movie. This Left Behind movie that now has got someone in it who has an Academy Award, and you're going to sit back, Christians, and say that you're persecuted. Absolutely ridiculous. This movie, based on these books, are nothing short of going against your very Your very Bible. Let me show you what I mean. Revelation 22, verse 18 and 19. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book, if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. The story of these people who get all raptured up in this Left Behind movie. First it was this crappy book, then it was a crappy movie, now it's a big Hollywood movie. Goes directly against these verses. It goes directly against it. They are adding to what is written in this book of prophecy. It's not in the book of Daniel either, that people are going to get raptured up, that some guy flying an airplane is going to be everybody in the crew is going to be raptured up, or whatever BS they talk about in this stupid story. And then these Christians sit back and they believe it. They believe that this stuff is true, and then they have the nerve to come out against us when we point it out. Folks, you're not even abiding by your own Bible. You're not abiding by your own Bible, let alone listening to the Holy Spirit, let alone listening to what she has to say. It's just frustrating. Well, before we make this another 30-minute video, let's go on from that topic of the rapture, which is not biblically based, and just pie-in-the-sky crap for Christians, because that's what they want to believe, that they actually deserve it. Moving on. Okay, I'm going to go straight over to chapter 6 from here. I have a much older video about this, Revelation chapter 6. Everyone, you're welcome to go look at it. My perspective of things have changed a bit in a couple of years since I did that, but the basic ideas of this chapter that I talk about in that, I'm gonna go over this again briefly. It's on my channel, not on Lucy's, just on my channel. It's an old video, one of the ones that I made a good year before she and I met.
Revelation 6, verse 12. And I beheld, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood.
So if we take this book of Revelation as being actual prophecy, we need to look at this one at a time. There are a lot of signs in the skies in this book. They are being given to us so that we know what to expect next. Now let's look at this. First, there's a great earthquake. Obviously, I don't have to explain what that is. But then the sun becomes black as sackcloth of hair. Now that is a solar eclipse. And the moon became as blood, which is a lunar eclipse. So we have a great earthquake, a lunar eclipse, or a solar eclipse, then a lunar eclipse, in that order. Earthquake, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse.
Verse 13. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind.
Now this to me describes a meteor shower, because that's what a meteor shower looks like. It looks like the stars are falling from heaven. John, you have to understand that John is seeing things 2,000 years ago, and he's describing them the way that he sees them. He doesn't know that it's called a meteor shower. He doesn't know what a meteor shower is. So here we've got the sequence of events. First, an earthquake, then a solar eclipse, then a lunar eclipse, then a meteor shower.
Verse 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were removed out of their places.
Now let's look at this. Again, John is writing this 2,000 years ago, so what is he describing? The heavens depart as a scroll when it is rolled together. This to me sounds like a nuclear bomb. So here we have the sequence of events again. And let's go on to verse 15.
And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains.
Why is everybody hiding themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains? This is a nuclear attack, in my opinion. And the dens and the rocks of the mountains could very well mean the bunkers, the nuclear bunkers, a lot of them being built by the elite. Why? Why are so many bunkers being built? What do the elite know that we don't? There are some things that I agree with when it comes to these conspiracy ideas. It's getting fewer and fewer every day, but one of those things are that certainly the elite are in the know when we're not. And a lot of them are buying up these bunkers. So let's look at the sequence of events. First you have an earthquake. Then the sun becomes black as sackcloth, that is, a solar eclipse, and the moon becomes as blood, a lunar eclipse. Then in verse 13, you have a meteor shower, then a nuclear bomb. So, if we're going to abide by this book, first of all, being a book about the future, that does have predictions in it, if you go by that, if you believe that to begin with, which I don't know why you would be listening to this video if you don't, but if you go by that to begin with, this is what we need to look for. Earthquake, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, meteor shower, then the nuclear exchange. So, be looking for it. I'm not going to say I know when it's going to happen. Of course, a couple of years ago, I thought it was going to happen a lot sooner. But be on the lookout for it. There's nothing wrong with being prepared. As I stated in the last video, we're just trying to help you prepare yourself mentally for what's to come. Let me state, I was always a lot more into this idea of revelation than Lucy was since the beginning, since we first met. And it's really taken me a lot of what's going on in the world for her to see, for her to warm up to the idea a little bit more than she did before. I have been interested in this since I was 11 years old. So that's a very long time. And there were points in my life where I put it on the back burner, needless to say, but I've always been interested in this and always been looking at these prophetic warnings. So if you don't agree with what I'm saying, remember, I'm the one who's given my own personal interpretation. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's Lucy. Let's look at chapter 7 with verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 from the tribes of Israel. Now the only thing I'm going to state about this, about the 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, is that traditional Christians have little understanding of this, very little. There is no excuse for what the traditional interpreters of the book of Revelation are saying, people like John Hagee, And people back in my day, who's not very popular anymore, but was back in the 70s, Hal Lindsey, who are saying things about this particular 144,000. They are saying they're all Jewish converts. There's no excuse for them to be making that statement. The 10 tribes, there were 10 tribes of Israel that broke off. This is in the Bible. The 10 tribes that broke off, and the 2 tribes, the tribe of Benjamin and Judah, who became later what we now call the Jews. There were the 10 lost tribes of Israel scattered all over Europe and probably Africa, maybe even Asia. There's no telling where they all went. Most of them, I would think, went to Europe. So if you're of European descent, and you may very well have the bloodline of Israel within you, that doesn't mean you're a Jew. These are not all converted Jews, and for traditional Christians to say that these 144,000 converted Jews, it's unconscionable, really. A lot of the things that they say are unconscionable, but this one bothers me, because certainly they know that there was 10 lost tribes of Israel, right? All scattered all through Europe. People who would not even know who they are, as it says in the Bible. They don't know that they are from the house of Israel. They don't know this. They're not Jews. They never were Jews, because the tribe of Benjamin and Judah became what we could now call the Jews, not the 10 lost tribes of Israel. So when it says 144,000 from the tribes of Israel, it doesn't just mean converted Jews. So stop saying that, Hagee and
all those on TBN, basically.
Everybody on TBN. Anybody out there, virtually all of them. They're not just Jews.
Since we're bringing up all this stuff, I wanted to mention too that a lot of people are blaming a lot of this stuff on the Luciferians.
The Luciferian agenda by the elite, the New World Order types.
So don't be blaming us. We're not the ones behind the scenes pulling all the strings here.
If you knew how we actually lived, you would think it's hilarious that we are constantly attacked for being Illuminati agents, whatever. People call me things that I have to look up. You know, they're saying I'm some kind of CIA op or something. It's just, folks. Trust me, if you knew us for 24 hours and saw what we did in a 24-hour day, you certainly wouldn't be thinking that anymore. Okay, Revelation chapter 8. I just briefly going to mention something here. Chapter 8, verse 8. And the second angel sounded, and it was a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. That also sounds like a nuclear bomb. I want to do a separate video here in a couple of days. It might be a few days, but about a song that we're all familiar with, and how I believe it's also prophetic, and why I believe that. I'm going to allow Lucy not to be part of that, since already people probably think we're a couple of nut jobs already, so it's just a little bit of fun. You can interpret, and there's so many interpretations of this book. You can interpret a number of things a different way. We don't want this particular video to run as long as the last one did, so we're going to finish up here. Let's look at chapter 9, starting with verse 7. These are a description of the locusts that come out of the bottomless pit. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as crowns like gold, and their faces were the faces of men. And they had hair as hair of women, and their teeth were as teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. This, to me, remember I already stated that John is looking at things from 2,000 years ago. This sounds like a perfect description to me of helicopters. They have crowns on their heads like gold. That would be the propellers on the top of a helicopter. Faces were faces of men. I could see that from a distance that might look that way, like a face of a man. And they had hair as a hair of a woman. That could be the fire that comes out from the back side that might look like hair from a distance. So I'm just offering up my own interpretation. I believe that this is a description of helicopters. Okay, in the same chapter, chapter 9, verse 17. And thus I saw the horses of the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, and of jasaeth and brimstone, and their heads of the horses were as heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. This to me sounds like a description of a tank.
In Revelation, with some of these angels, it also could be interpreted as jets flying around. You know those angels that pour the bowl onto the sun and onto other things? That actually could be jets.
The jets that are said to be spewing all this toxic stuff in the air. The
chemtrails.
This is a more secular look at the book of Revelation, and we got to Revelation 9. I really don't want to make this too long, so I guess we're going to have to try to finish it up in the next installment. I really want to talk about a particular verse, and I guess we could start it because I believe it is in chapter 10. So we're going to end it here and say goodnight and look for another one. It's going to be a few days from now because we're going to not be here for a few days. So this is Entropy 666 signing off.
And this is Lucifer signing off.
Have a good evening, and I hope you enjoyed it. Night.